were isolating in my friend's country home, we felt it actually was better to take his London apartment and make it available for medical personnel who don't want to bring the virus home. I think we're getting social distancing right, given that the only people out here are sheep. We're out here in the middle of nowhere.
What is the trade-off that we're dealing with right now when it comes to privacy?
The trade-off of security is always information. The more information we have, the more information we can take action on. But the more information that someone has that maybe we don't know about, the less comfortable we tend to get. Because information is power, and so is data. There's a very large power distance between someone who you're speaking to, someone who you're doing business with, or a business that's providing a service that's become essential to your life. That difference in power is what we're really talking about that makes us uneasy. How much do we think that business should or should not know that information about us? As people, we want to have the benefits, businesses knowing about us, having us logged in. We call up for customer service and they greet you with your name. But at the same time, in order to get that, we also have to cede all of this information that we may not want to know, like what price we would be really willing to pay. When you start thinking about financial data or health data, I mean, that's really when we start to get uneasy, because a difference in power in that category is something that could affect our lives in a major way.
From a business perspective, especially at a time like this, why should businesses care about data privacy?
Data privacy is one side of a coin, and it's the stuff you shouldn't be doing with data. On the other side of the coin is the things you should be doing with data. And those are linked. And what data privacy is doing is they're saying, okay, there's certain things that the public sector needs to step in and change the equation, where knowing as much about the customer as possible has become the new power. You can't participate in the economy without a credit card and an email address anymore. We're just not going back to that era where that was possible, where you in physical space being far away or close to a business mattered. So why should you care about data privacy? Well, it's going to be the thing that prevents you from doing the things you really shouldn't do. And the second thing is it'll help you inform what you should be doing. A lot of people are seeing data privacy as only a bad thing, as opposed to also an opportunity. If you look at what millennials are talking about today, the younger a consumer generally is, the more willing they are to give their data to you, but the more important they find knowing what you're going to do with it. They're really linked. I mean, data privacy is just a way of saying don't do certain things with data. We have to make that a matter of law. But you should also be doing other things with data that your customers do want you to do, because there are those as well.
What are some of the biggest threats or blind spots that businesses often miss when it comes to data privacy?
I think the biggest blind spot is the sensitivity that is growing around data privacy. I don't see many businesses, segmenting their customers according to data privacy and what their sensitivity is to that. There's a whole industry that has to be built around consent. If you don't know how sensitive your customer is to data privacy, you don't know if the questions you're asking might be creepy or might be something that they want you to ask. And that's a major blind spot, because for the last 10 years, it's been get as much data as you can without any regard as to what. And the truth of it, Barbara, is that we as consumers created this problem, right? We want everything to be free. That means that if you want an internet service to be free and you're not paying for it, the only business cases that will filter through are the ones who are monetizing something else. And usually that's the information they have on you. Subscription-based businesses, there's two reasons why they're becoming so popular. One is it's a smooth revenue curve, it's repeat revenue, it turns you into something that's part of the customer's life. But it's also because if we can get customer behavior to be willing to pay for the services that they're getting directly, as opposed to having to run ads and then having to have those ads be targeted. And targeted based on what? Well, it's you. You could take any industry and look at the disruption happening in that industry. Look at the models and the business processes that are being put in by those disruptive businesses. Usually, if not always, the daylight that they're exploiting, where the big fish haven't figured out, where they can carve out a niche, is knowing more about the customer and taking action on that information faster than the competition.
Why is digital identity so core to a business that you are calling it existential?
What you don't know, you can't take action on. And what you don't know about your customers, you can't take customer-centric action on. It's that simple. Most businesses today have multiple digital identities. And that's what you feel as a consumer when you have to log in again, or you call the customer service line and they don't know who you are. It's annoying. And as you get younger in consumer base, they really don't like it. In order to get one unified identity, you need to coalesce these systems. I mean, that's what a customer data platform actually is just the unification of all of the different systems that you have that might be serving your business in one pocket or handling one function that now need to be interlinked, meshed together, so that what one part of your business knows, all of your business is aware of and can take action on. That's what most people are trying to do today with CDPs, and that's why it's so important to actually build one or buy most of one and then build the rest.
So talk about some of the work here at Publicis Sapient to build some of these platforms and help solve for some of these issues for our clients.
What we find in these projects is that when you put a customer data platform in, or something that's about to become a customer data platform, there's this moment where the business people looking at the data get that light bulb, that moment where they go, what can we now do that we couldn't? That might be figure out which cars are actually going to sell. Most people don't think about marketing and media as a way of impacting supply chain. But that's starting. And on the other side, if a customer, say, moves, there are businesses that for whom that customer just disappeared, and there are businesses that can stay with that customer. And the difference is whether or not you have a system that is on top of the address listing, as opposed to you only have a system with one address in it, and that's all you have on me, and then I move, and then I'm gone.
In this extraordinary period and moment in our history with the coronavirus, quarantining, remote work across the globe, what are the opportunities that customer data platforms can actually help our society and help businesses move forward?
What you find is that businesses that have customer data platforms can have aspects, or maybe their entire business, in a direct-to-consumer manner. So if you think about what's happening in CPG, for instance, if you're a CPG business and all you do is sell through retailers, you're going to have a lot more trouble with what's going on today than a CPG business that has a direct-to-consumer line that was largely proved out originally by the Dollar Shave Club model. Those companies that are building direct-to-consumer always have CDPs. Why would they put data in silos? They know that they shouldn't do that. And so that's the challenge that's facing enterprises is how do you get to the point where you can go direct to consumer? Well, the only way to do it at scale is through data. And you're going to need a platform for that customer data. So CDP-driven businesses are going to be able to adapt to moments like these where you're just not going to the store.
Beyond enterprise and private businesses, it seems the public sector also more than ever needs to foster that connection, that direct to constituents, if you will.
So this is where we need to be very careful. We are not yet prepared for what direct to citizen means. There are countries who are doing it really well, I will tell you. They are maybe surprising. Estonia is one of the best. They rolled out a citizen ID program. They're also really focused on protecting their identities. Then you have the other side of the spectrum, which I won't name names of countries who are more surveillance states. Now, in a moment like this, surveillance can be helpful to treating things that affect a lot of people all at once. Just like you tell your doctor your symptoms, you wouldn't see that as a breach of privacy because you're trying to get care. But if you put your symptoms into an app, there might be a moment where you wonder if you should do that. But if on the other side of that app is a doctor, how is it different from that doctor being in the room and asking your symptoms so that that doctor can treat you better? And so this is the tension that we're seeing around direct-to-citizen government. And I think it's happening so quickly that, if you look at testimonies to members of Congress, the digital nativity of people in decision-making roles today, that will change in our lifetime. Engineers will be in those positions in the future, especially as more digital natives become the major blocks for the governments of tomorrow.
We talked a lot about the business point of view and the blind spots for consumers, for those of us who are happily downloading apps on social media more than ever to connect with people because we're all home quarantined. What is the biggest blind spot or threat to our digital identity that we absolutely need to consider.
Number one is you're creating too much data. I can summarize this by saying make less data. Eventually, the law will catch up, but it's just not there yet. And that time that it's going to take for them to catch up, the more data you create, the more you're putting risk out into the market. And then challenge governments. Right? Start paying attention to this, and I don't mean from a fear perspective. I mean from an opportunity perspective as well. I mean that government can actually serve you in a better way, in a more personalized way. We demand that from businesses today. We will demand that from governments of tomorrow.
We hope we see you back stateside. When do you plan to come back?
I'll be back to New York soon, I'm sure. Southern England is lovely, if you have to be stuck there.